Welcome back to End Times Prophecy News. Well, we have bad breaking news here. A major explosion in Sweden happened yesterday around 11 a.m. This initial report says it was in Lingsås, but after investigating, we find out it was actually in Malmö. And yet we don't even have any reports from Sweden newspapers. We have this one right here, but of course we can't read it because it's not in English. But we also have this one here from UK Report, the same one, Malmö shooting as bomb found outside primary school. From Europe, of course, from the Australian newspaper, explosion rocks city of Malmö hours after gun attack, 10:55 a.m. An explosion has reportedly rocked the southern Swedish city of Malmö hours after a gun attack left at least 4 people injured. A blast was heard about 9 p.m. Sunday, 9 p.m. Sunday, 5 a.m. Monday, AEST, in Helenaholm, a neighborhood of Malmö, with bomb squads and security officers racing to the scene, Express reports. The reported explosion happened just 2 hours after a gun attack just 1 kilometer away in the south of the city. Newspaper Expressen reports gunmen on motor scooters opened fire on a car they had been chasing through the neighborhood. Witnesses reported hearing 20 gunshots in bursts of 3 about 7 p.m. during a football derby. Police confirmed 4 people were hospitalized with gunshot wounds, including 1 reportedly shot in the head, and that the gunmen were believed to have fled the scene on motor scooters. Sounds like jihadis to me, but one witness said the shots were fired by men in an Audi with shell casings found by officers at the scene, the Mirror reports. The residents of the surrounding houses were said to have rushed to the aid of the injured, with 3 of the 4 people loaded into private cars which sped to the emergency room at Skane University Hospital in Malmö. The 4th was taken by ambulance, reported Expressen. The victims' conditions weren't immediately clear. Police said they were investigating the case as an attempted murder as officers hunt the suspects. We have an ongoing operation in the area and have confirmed shootings with more than 1 injured. More we do not know because we are in the midst of it all. Police spokesman Ewa Gunn Westford said, quote, because it happened during a football derby between Malmö FF and Helsingborgs IF in town, there are many policemen on duty in Malmö tonight. It is not known if the 2 incidents are linked, but security services are on high alert across the city. So you have 2 incidents, and they don't know if they're linked. Man, is Sweden under attack by jihadis. Of course, there is no reports of jihadists yet, but how much you want to bet? 9-1. The Mirror reports a separate suspicious device was also found outside a school in Gothenburg. There has also been a recent spate of car fires, with about 30 cars set ablaze since Friday, which could be linked to a crackdown on gangland crime after police arrested 3 men with suspected links to organized crime involving guns and explosives. Notice no word of radical Islam here. A police officer checks the burned car at Karlsvagen in Berlof near Malmö. Picture. Like Sweden, other major cities, Malmö has seen a rise in gun violence in the past decade, often connected to feuds between rival gangs. This latest shooting comes 2 months after a gunman opened fire in a shopping center in Malmö, shooting a man in the leg. Remember, this is reports coming from Australia, and Australia has the same kind of a global elite who wants to bring Islam into his nation as well. Anyway, moving on to the next story. New York Times executive director reveals what happens when Trump tweets about them. The New York Times executive claims subscription increases when Trump tweets about them. Possibly. But I don't believe it.
Trump is the best thing to happen to the Times subscription strategy. Yes, every time he tweets, it drives subscriptions wildly. He also, if I can say something, he's accomplished.
Can you prove that? Do you have a poll for that? Do you have any statistics for that? Nah. The real fake news at Crap News Central is speaking once again.
I think that there was a long time when the press wondered about its place in the society. The last several years.
But you notice it says right down here, reliable sources. But there is no source. It's always a anonymous source, an unnamed source.
As newspaper subscriptions sort of dwindled, as local newspapers worried about their future, I think what's happened in the last couple months, I have to say, has been tremendous for news organizations. Our mission is clearer than it's ever been. We're covering a dramatic revolution in government and how the country is governed. And it feels like all of the things that sort of bothered us and made us lose a little bit of confidence in the last...
Is that why you evacuated the top 8 floors of the New York Times building and decided to rent it out? Really? Real fake news Central right here.
Last few months have sort of gone away. It is so clear what our mission is.
Real fake news. There you go. Amazing. Breaking news, President Trump destroys media for fake news about Russian involvement. Again, Russia talk is fake news. It's real fake news, Donald. Put out by the Dems and played up by the media in order to mask the big election defeat and the illegal leaks. Amen to that, sir. Let's just do a retweet. Done. That didn't take too long, did it? Mark Cuban got smoked in debate over Trump and fake news. Mark Cuban and Mark Dice argue over fake news, and wild accusations fly from the billionaire Dallas Mavericks owner, only to have him later retreat to his safe place after stepping up to YouTube's most popular conservative news analyst. I'm going to like this one.
Billionaire buffoon and big-time Donald Trump critic Mark Cuban got into a Twitter beef with me today, which culminated in him accusing me of exploiting children. Let's take a look at his bizarre and defamatory accusations. And he did delete the tweets, but guess what, Mr. Cuban? I still have them open in my browser, so I can still access them. So let's go through them right now. It all started when he posted this tweet in response to President Trump calling out the fake news again at CPAC, when he said, quote, fake news is a claim you only hear from people afraid of transparency. I responded saying the Washington Post coined fake news right after the election to blame Russia for Hillary's loss, FYI, the biggest liberal paper in D.C. I followed it up by saying that you have to admit that CNN and many other mainstream media outlets aren't news. They are pure anti-Trump propaganda. I continued saying that a Time magazine reporter started a fake news story that Trump removed the bust of MLK from the Oval Office on his first day as president. I then tweeted him a link to my YouTube channel's playlist documenting the fake news just in the last few weeks. And I said, here's a few examples of CNN and other mainstream media spreading fake news. He responded, out of 50,000 plus stories published across the mainstream media platform since November 8th, your list has 11? Can we compare that percent to the media you like? I thought it would help him understand just how low the mainstream media has sunk by pointing out the fact that NBC News put together their anti-Donald Trump propaganda piece using children and calling it Dear Mr. President, where kids as young as 6 years old explain that they're just terrified of President Trump and his policies, kids which are obviously being coached off camera by their parents. In an obvious North Korea level style propaganda piece when every single child, except for one in the video, was scared to death of Donald Trump and his policies. So I sent him a link to NBC's original video and my analysis, to which he responded, so kids can't have an opinion on the president? What part of the report was fake, or did you just not like it? I responded, bro, seriously, nobody can deny that the clips were selectively edited to present only one point of view and use children as propaganda. And he responded after watching my analysis saying, I'm curious, how would you describe the videos that you do? I said, I'm a media analyst. I thought that was obvious. To which he responded, I watched you make fun of children. I watched you belittle young kids. You exploited them as clickbait. That's what I saw in the video. I said, it's clickbait now to call out NBC for using children in anti-Trump propaganda, and me pointing out facts is now, quote, making fun of kids? He responds again, bro, that video makes you look like a corrupt, insensitive stooge. I reply, and you think NBC are darlings for producing the segment, right? I'm the bad guy here. Yep. How dare I criticize an NBC News segment? I continued, you still haven't stated your thoughts on the original NBC piece. Shameful propaganda? Exploiting kids? Or okay? His response was then to delete all of his tweets to me, which is why it shows up here, my responses to him, as this tweet is unavailable. But you can go through and have the original archive. You can pull them up in the archives to show that the tweets that I'm showing you here are in fact real. So I concluded by stating the obvious, that you hate Trump because he beat you in your billionaire game of life worldview by becoming the most powerful man in the world. Period. If you missed it, go and watch my analysis of the NBC News Dear Mr. President segment, where it was NBC which exploited children. The original video on the NBC News channel has a 99% thumb down rating, making it literally one of the most disliked videos on YouTube. But the point is here that Mark Cuban refused to denounce it, refused to admit that it is shameful propaganda, that NBC was exploiting children, and instead accused me of doing that, and then later deleted his tweets and ran into his cyber safe space. Mark Cuban, of course, just being a typical lunatic liberal, accusing me of, quote, exploiting children because I'm criticizing NBC for exploiting children.
Great job, Mark Dice. Yeah, Mark Cuban, a real goon. Had to hide into his safe space. And he just trying to take on Mark Dice, you made a huge mistake. Thank you for listening.
If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.